Felita here, story time. So, early on in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I worked pretty much the first 25 years in corporate America. And during my tenure in corporate America, I pretty much always had Caucasian male bosses. Well, I left the corporate world when my daughter was about 9 to build my own business. And I needed the flexibility to be available for my family and my children. So I decided to leave the corporate world and do my own business. And for 25 years, I was self-employed. And in 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to step away from my business just to totally focus on my healing. And when you have a business is like a baby. If you step away too long, something will happen. Well, that's basically what happened. So I re-entered the workforce right after treatment during 2020. Yeah, 2020, I re-entered the workforce. And ever since I have been back in the workforce, I have had Black female managers. And I don't know what it is about Black female managers, and when they have a title, something shifts in them where, now I'm not going to say that this is the case with all. It's just been based upon my personal experience. I've had 3 so far, and this has been my experience with the 3 that I have had. But based on my experience, most times when they get a position in leadership, a managerial position, I'm noticing that they have a tendency to abuse their power. My last job that I had before the current one that I have right now, her energy was so toxic that it just made working in the place where I was working totally unbearable. And I gave up the job because I know for myself, having a place to work where I can come in and I can feel comfortable and I can do my job, and you leave me alone and let me do my job. Having a peace of mind at work is important for me. I don't like micromanaging. I don't like someone constantly telling me what to do. And I definitely don't like when you disrespect me. We're all adults here, and if I treat you with respect, I deserve respect as well. But what I have noticed is that most of the Black female managers have basically abused their power. And sometimes you have to address the issue. You have to have the courage to address the issue. Otherwise, you'll end up putting yourself through a lot of stress and a lot of unnecessary torment and stress that's really not called for. You just need to address the issue. But what I have found is that most employees are afraid to speak up because they fear that they may lose their job. Now, this is very unfortunate, and I just recently went through this on my current job, and I had to address the issue because I noticed the same thing happening. And I spoke with one of my coworkers about it, and we talked about it, and of course, she is totally different from me. And one thing that breast cancer did teach me is to not be a doormat. Don't allow people to walk over you. If you have something to say, have the courage to speak up and say it. And when I spoke to my coworker about it, of course, she was like, well, just pray about it, Felita. And I said, oh yeah, I'm going to pray about it, all right. And I'm going to also say something about it as well. But I am going to ask God to guide my tongue, that I say it in a respectful way where she will receive it out of love and not out of ridicule. And so I had the conversation with her on today. I had this full list of things that I was going to talk to her about that I felt that she needed to know. Now, in my mind, your mind can play tricks on you. My mind is constantly telling me, oh, she's going to be mad. She's going to lash out at you. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. But I faced the issue anyway. I confronted the issue anyway. And lo and behold, she actually thanked me. She was actually appreciative that I came to talk to her about it, because she said she has found that most people just will not talk to her about it. They'll go to, upper management, but they won't come directly to her and talk to her about it. And so I told her, I said, I'm not the type of person who believes in going above anyone's head. I'm going to go directly to the source first. And if I don't get any resolve there at the source, then that's when I'll take the next step. But I felt the need that I needed to talk to you about it because, and another thing, she's from a different culture than what we are here, than our culture here in the U.S. So I had to talk to her about it. And she actually thanked me. And she even told me, she said, Felita, you just don't know how much respect I have for you coming to me and sharing this information with me. And she said, I just want to thank you. She said, and I don't have a problem with apologizing. And I told her, I said, you're demanding, it's almost like militant. You've got this militant mindset that, that you're coming in very demanding, that's making it very toxic to work here. And of course, she didn't see anything wrong with it, but because I brought it to her attention, she was appreciative. She was really appreciative. And so last night, it was playing over in my head how I was actually going to talk to her. And the Spirit brought to my awareness that I faced this issue again because I did not confront my last manager. I was just looking for a way out. I didn't want to be there anymore because she was just hard to talk to. You couldn't talk to her about anything. She was very nasty. She was the type of person that if you confronted her about anything, she would just get mad, shut the door. She wouldn't speak to you for 2 or 3 days. And it was just very toxic that I just could not deal with. So I had to exit stage left. But I said all that to say this. When you have an issue with someone, pray and ask God for guidance. Sometimes you'll have to sit down and just listen to your thoughts and write down what actually offended you. And pray and ask God to give you the courage to be able to confront the person so that you can relieve that stress from your body. Because many times we carry so much stress that we don't even realize why we're gaining weight. We don't even realize why we're constantly having the headaches. We don't even realize why we're sleeping so long. We don't realize what's actually driving us into depression. And most of that has to do with the stress that we're dealing with in our lives. So I said all of that to say this. Learn to have the courage to speak up. Don't be a doormat for anybody. I don't care who it is, a relationship, a job. I don't care who it is or what it is. Have the courage to speak up. If you feel that you are offended, have the courage to talk to the person about it. I remember when I first got married, my husband taught me this one lesson that has forever stuck with me out of all the years we have been married. And he told me it was the way that I used to communicate to him. And I had this aggression, the way that I would communicate with him. And he set me down like a real man does. He set me down and he told me, he said, honey, I can receive what you're telling me in a much better way if you came to me in a different way. So in other words, it's not what you say, but how you say it. So I want to leave this with you today. The tongue can get us in a lot of trouble. And when we don't know how to manage our emotions, we can lash out, we can do things that we can sometimes later regret. And what I started thinking about the most is that I regret that I did not take the time to talk to my previous manager, because she could have possibly responded the same way. She was just so mean and so nasty that I just think that most people just did not want to talk to her at all. She was just not approachable. So if you have something or someone who has offended you, write it down. Take time, pray, and ask God to give you the words to say. And my advice is to, when you approach the person, start off by planting something positive into the person so that the person will be able to receive it in a much better way. You'll be amazed at the outcome. So the whole moral of this story is, whatever you don't face and whatever you don't deal with, you'll be faced with it again. Let me say that again. Whatever you don't face, whatever you don't deal with, you will be faced with the same issue again. It's just going to be in a different way, in a different person, or whatever it might be. So, take your power back. Have the courage and the confidence to speak your mind and walk in your power. That being said, I love you.